Hello, Pokepals! Welcome back to another video. In my set review of Shrouded Fable, I highlighted Dusclops and associated strategies as potentially problematic for the Format Gym Leader Challenge. In fact, the card did get some cards banned. A link to the post is provided in the description. Some of you may be surprised. After all, you can only play a single copy of Dusclops in a GLC deck. The problem is that Dusclops can be cycled multiple times on the same turn and has many synergies in the Psychic type. Let's take a look at an example deck list. Dusclops has the ability Cursed Blast. Once during your turn, you may put 5 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. If you use this ability, this Pokemon is knocked out. Self-knockout tends to be a benefit in this deck, but we'll discuss this later. The damage counters have some potential to take early knockouts and make it difficult for your opponent to set up. Dusclops is enabled by Duskull with the ability Spirit-Born Evolution. Once during your turn, you may discard 3 cards from your hand. If you do, search your deck for a card that evolves from this Pokemon and put it onto this Pokemon to evolve it. Crucially, this allows Duskull to evolve on the same turn it is played. Cards like Wally and Salvatore can help a Pokemon evolve the same turn it is played, but doing so means you cannot use a different supporter with a more powerful effect. Very few Pokemon are capable of doing this without the help of a supporter card, and Duskull is one of them. If you can put Duskull into play multiple times, you can also evolve multiple times using its ability. Duskull's ability is strong, but it has the drawback of needing to discard 3 cards. As luck would have it, there are 2 Pokemon with high draw power in the Psychic type, Mismagius and Marshadow. Let's start with Mismagius. This Pokemon has the ability Mysterious Message. Once during your turn, before your attack, you may draw cards until you have 7 cards in your hand. If you drew any cards in this way, this Pokemon is knocked out. This ability goes well with Spirit-Born Evolution, but Mismagius is a Stage 1 Pokemon, which means it normally needs a turn to evolve. Thankfully, the item card Duskstone solves this problem. Search your deck for a Mismagius, Honchkrow, Chandelure, or Aegislash, including Pokemon GX, that evolves from one of your Pokemon in play, and put it onto that Pokemon to evolve it. You can use this card during your first turn, or on a Pokemon that was put into play this turn. Mismagius provides the Dusclops strategy the consistency it needs to create a single turn combo. Marshadow has the ability Let Loose. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may have each player shuffle their hand into their deck and draw 4 cards. If this effect sounds familiar, that's because it is. This effect is similar to that of the supporter card Judge, which speaks to the power of this ability. There are multiple reasons to use Marshadow. As a basic Pokemon, it does not need to evolve in order to be useful. Cards like Scoop Up Net allow you to use Marshadow multiple times. Also, Duskull can only evolve with its ability if Dusclops is in the deck. If Dusclops is in the hand, the ability does not work fully. Similarly, if Mismagius is in hand, Duskstone doesn't work fully. Marshadow can shuffle Dusclops and Mismagius into the deck to let them evolve. For these reasons, Marshadow is an invaluable part of this deck. While Mismagius and Marshadow are the strongest partners for Dusclops, they aren't the only ones. Unknown has the ability Farewell Letter. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may discard this Pokemon and all cards attached to it. This does not count as a knockout. If you do, draw a card. This helps draw through the deck and thins the hand to maximize Mismagius and save some item cards. Mew has the ability Mysterious Tail. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may look at the top 6 cards of your deck, reveal an item card you find there, and put it into your hand. This ability doesn't always come up, but it is good for item-based decks. That's it for the supporting Pokemon. You might be wondering, activating Cursed Blast is good and all, but how does the deck win? This is where we have to talk about Blacephalon and Nihilego. Blacephalon has the attack Fireworks Bomb. Put 4 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. If your opponent has exactly 3 prize cards remaining, put 12 damage counters on them instead. You can force your opponent down to 3 prizes using the abilities of Dusclops and Mismagius to knock out your own Pokemon. With some disruption, you can make it difficult for your opponent to attack, allowing you to use Fireworks Bomb multiple times. This attack helps clean up the damage from Cursed Blast and sets up knockouts on future turns. If Blacephalon gets knocked out, Nihilego becomes useful. It has the attack Nightcap. You can use this attack only if your opponent has exactly 2 prize cards remaining. Choose one of your opponent's Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. If your opponent uses a strong attack to remove Blacephalon, you'll be able to return the favor with Nihilego. Even if your opponent does not knock out Blacephalon, you can still activate Nightcap yourself if necessary. To power these attackers, I have Beast Ring and 3 basic energy. You can play this card only if your opponent has exactly 3 or 4 prize cards remaining. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards and attach them to one of your Ultra Beasts, then shuffle the deck. Both Blacephalon and Nihilego are Ultra Beasts. Since you'll often be playing from behind, Counter Energy can power up Blacephalon with a single energy attachment. The redundancy helps address bad prizing. The goal of the deck is simple. Activate Cursed Blast multiple times and attack with Blacephalon as quickly as possible. The best way to achieve this is to play a lot of item cards. Since you can only play 1 supporter card per turn, the number of supporter cards should be minimized. I won't go through each card in too much detail, but here's a quick breakdown. The deck only plays 2 supporter cards, Carmine and Iono. Carmine lets you discard your hand and draw 5 cards. More importantly, if you go first, you may use this card during your first turn. Most supporters can't be played if you go first on the first turn, and Carmine is one of the few exceptions. Carmine lets you play the same strategy going first or second. Iono is better for going second. You'll usually draw 6 cards, and after knocking out some of your own Pokemon, your opponent will draw less. Also, Iono can put important cards like Dusclops and Hismagius on the bottom of the deck instead of discarding them. Random Receiver and X Transceiver help search for these 2 supporters. There are many Pokemon search cards. The strongest ones are Battle VIP Pass and Buddy Buddy Poffin, since they grab 2 Pokemon for a single card. Pokemon Communication is useful in case Dusclops or Mismagius is in hand, and it guarantees that they return to the deck. Mysterious Treasure, Quick Ball, and Ultra Ball are useful for discarding less useful cards like Basic Psychic Energy. The worst search cards are Great Ball and Capturing Aroma for this deck. There are several recovery cards. Rescue Carrier is efficient in that it can get 2 Pokemon with 90 HP or less back to hand. In case any basic energy cards were discarded, Super Rod and Ordinary Rod can recover basic energy cards for Beast Ring. Recycle is capable of recovering any card from the discard pile, though it's not reliable. Max Revive, Buddy Buddy Rescue, and Night Stretcher tend to be worse than the other recovery cards, but the deck needs them to recover Dusclops multiple times. Most of the remaining cards are dedicated to consistency and are seen in most item-based decks. Bicycle, Custom Catcher, and Rose Tower are especially important since they become stronger with fewer cards in hand and can draw you out of bad hands. If some important cards are prized, Hisuian Heavy Ball and Rotom Dex can change that. Rotom Dex is notable since it is the only card in this deck that can get Dusclops out of the prize cards, which is normally a game-losing situation. Countercatcher and Reset Stamp provide some additional disruption to help keep Blacephalon on the field. Switch and U-turn board help move around the Pokemon. That's the whole deck. I know the images are blurry, so I provided a deck list link in the description. Time for some single-player gameplay. Let's start by giving it a good shuffle. Then, let's draw 7 cards for setting up play. Since we have a basic Pokemon in hand, we play it down in our active spot, and then lay out our 6 prize cards. Let's assume for this demonstration that we're going first, so let's draw a card. For the first turn, it's possible that we can knock out all of our opponent's Pokemon, but in case we don't, the main goal of the turn is actually just to set up some damage counters so that Blacephalon can come in and take knockouts on the second turn. The first thing I usually do with this kind of deck is perform some kind of deck search. Searching the deck is very important to figure out what our prize cards are. So in this case, I would play Level Ball first. So let's play Level Ball and search our deck for a Pokemon with 90 HP or less. Here, I'm trying to figure out what the prizes are. I'm looking first at the Pokemon. So Marshadow, Mismagius, that's very nice. Misdreavus, so we have the Misdreavus, Mismagius line. Another thing I'm looking for is if we have Duskstone and Beast Ring, some very important one-ofs. We have Dusclops, which is very good. We don't need to use Rotom Dex, probably. There's Blacephalon, and there's the Duskull. And there's the Duskstone, so this is a really nice start here. It does seem like we're missing some Pokemon here. Okay, Nihilego. Oh, there's the Mew. Okay. There should be 9 Pokemon in this list, so there's 8 in the deck, so that's all of them. There's actually no Pokemon in the prizes. Therefore, we know that our Hisuian Heavy Ball won't do anything if we play it for its effect. What we can do instead is discard it for Spearborn Evolution. So here I'm going to use Level Ball to search for, let's go for Duskull. This hand is really lacking in draw power right now. Our best bet is to put a good card on top using Rotom Phone, and then using Unknown to draw that card, or maybe Roller Skates to draw that card. So here, I'm going to use Spirit-Born Evolution first. I'm going to discard Ordinary Rod, Max Revive, and Hisuian Heavy Ball. We know this card won't be useful, so let's just discard it. The recovery cards are a little bit worse to discard, but it's okay in this situation because we're kind of in a bad spot. So Spirit-Born Evolution, let's first search for Dusclops. Next, I'm going to use Rotom Phone. Look at the top 5 cards and put one on top. Okay, so X-Transceiver looks to be the best card in this pile right here, so I'm going to keep this one on top. The rest of the cards are shuffled back into the deck, and this card goes on top. I'm going to use Roller Skates and see if I can draw the card. So we're going to flip a coin. It happens to be heads in this case, so let's draw the 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to use Great Ball, look at the top 7 cards, find a Pokemon, add it to hand, and the rest go back to the deck. In this case, we found a Pokemon, we found Marshadow. This is a really nice card in this situation because our hand is not particularly good. And let's put the other cards back. Since we're going first, the best target for X-Transceiver right now is Carmine, but I don't want to discard Marshadow. So I'm just going to keep the X-Transceiver in hand. I'm going to play down Mew. And then I'm going to play down Marshadow and use the Let Loose ability to shuffle my hand into the deck and draw 4 cards. I'm going to use Acrobike to look at the top 2 cards of the deck, choose one, and discard the other. Ooh, the Dust Stone is really nice in this situation because we have Mismagius in hand, and we also have Pokemon Communication that can put Mismagius back into the deck. So I'm going to discard Trainer's Mail and keep the Dust Stone. I'm going to now use Pokemon Communication. I'm going to reveal Mismagius, put it on top of the deck, and then I'm going to search for Misdreavus. So here's the Misdreavus, and we shuffle. Actually, before we shuffle, we now activate Duskstone to put Mismagius into play. Here we have the decision of either using Random Receiver or Mismagius. I'd rather use Random Receiver. If we're able to get the Carmine, we can use Carmine without discarding any cards. So I'm going to use Random Receiver, reveal cards until I reveal a supporter card. And we got Iono, which we can't play because it's our first turn. This is the really good part about using Random Receiver, is that it guarantees that we find a supporter. In this case, we found Iono, but that's okay because we still have Mysterious Message. So I'm going to shuffle, and then I'm going to use Mysterious Message to draw until I have 7 cards. And then Mismagius gets knocked out. So our opponent is now at 5 prizes. Since we're going first, we can't actually attack with Blacephalon yet. Our goal this turn is to disrupt our opponent as much as possible and also set up Blacephalon for the next turn. I activate Cursed Blast on Dusclops to knock itself out and put 5 damage counters on the opponent. Our opponent is now at 4 prize cards. I'm going to use Gutsy Pickaxe to reveal the top card of my deck and put it into my hand. There's no fighting energy in this deck, so it's never going to attach fighting energy. So it's basically just a draw 1 in this deck. I'm also going to use Judge Whistle to draw a card. In this situation, if we're able to use Cursed Blast to win the game, then I would do so right now, because we have the cards to do so. We have Rescue Carrier, we have Super Rod, we have Buddy Buddy Rescue. We have so many recovery cards to get the Cursed Blast off a second time. However, since most of the time we won't be able to win, then this situation will just set up for the next turn. Let's use Rescue Carrier to recover Dusclops and Duskull to hand. Let's put Dusclops into play. Now I'm going to use Fog Crystal to search for Blacephalon. I'm going to attach the counter energy to Blacephalon. And very importantly, we're going to use Reset Stamp to disrupt our opponent. Since our opponent has 4 prize cards remaining, that means they're only going to draw 4 cards off of this Reset Stamp. Using the disruption right now makes it difficult for our opponent to set up, and so we can possibly use Blacephalon multiple times going into the next turns. At this point, I might just pass. We've done enough this turn, we've disrupted our opponent. We set up so that we can put Dusclops into play again for the next turn, so that we can use Curse Blast a second time, and get our opponent down to 3 prize cards so Blacephalon can be used to its maximum potential. That's pretty much it for the going first demonstration. Now let's try going second. Once again, let's give it a good shuffle. And let's draw 7 to set up play. We have a basic Pokemon, that's Marshadow. Let's put it into play, and then put our 6 prize cards down. Marshadow is probably the worst starter of the deck, because it doesn't allow us to search for it for its ability later. It's okay though, because we still have Scoop of Net. Let's start by drawing a card for going second. As usual, we want to do a deck search, so let's use Buddy Buddy Poffin. This is probably the best search card other than Battle VIP Pass. Let's see what we have. We have Duststone, Mismagius, Mew, we have Misdreavus, so we have the entire Mismagius combo. Duskull, Unknown, Blacephalon, and Nihilego. It looks like we're missing Dusclops in this situation, which is a little worrying, but we can make do because we have Rotom decks in hand right now. So Buddy Buddy Poffin, I'm going to search for Duskull and Misdreavus. We want to make it very unlikely for Misdreavus and the Duskull line to go back into the prizes when we use Rotom decks. So let's get them out now. Let's also use Level Ball. So I'm going to use Level Ball here. Search for Unknown is very important, so let's get the Unknown out as well. One important thing about using Rotom decks is you probably want to keep a deck search for after you used Rotom decks. So let's use Rotom decks. Let's shuffle the prizes into the deck. And let's set up our 6 prizes again. I'm going to use Battle Compressor to see what is in the deck now. So now we do have the Dusclops. Let's see, we have Blacephalon, Beast Ring, we still have the Duskstone. Do we have Mismagius? Mew, Nihilego, we do have the Mismagius, and we do still have the counter energy. So these are all really nice. That should be all of our Pokemon are available now. This is the reason why we play Rotom decks. It's so useful in these situations when you're playing more aggressive decks. Let's see, do we have our supporters though? It's a little worrying. We do have Carmine, and we do have Iono. Okay. So, thing about Battle Compressor, we need to get rid of the 3 least important cards right now. That's probably going to be our 3 basic energies if we have all 3. We do not have all 3, so let's get rid of 1 more card. This might be something like Capturing Aroma or some other card. It's probably Great Ball in this case. Great Ball is has a very low chance of working right now. So let's discard these 3 cards. And we want to try to use Spearborn Evolution right now. It's a little bit of a problem since we don't have too many free cards. We do want to use the Pokestop probably. So let's put the Pokestop in play. Let's use Farewell Letter to draw a card. Ooh, that is one of the best cards. Okay. In this case, I would just immediately use Duststone to evolve into Mismagius. So let's do it right now. We are currently not behind in prizes. We don't want to use Pokestop, so let's just use Mismagius' ability right now, Mysterious Message. So let's use its ability, and let's draw until we have 7 cards. Okay, and our opponent is now at 5 prizes. We definitely want to keep the bicycle to potentially draw 4 cards. Let's start with the acrobike here. So let's look at the top 2 cards. Discard one, keep the other. Let's discard the Rose Tower and keep the Super Rod for when we need to recover the Dusclops. Let's start by using Spiritborn Evolution. So let's discard 3 cards. In this case, it's going to be Countercatcher, Nihilego, and Ultra Ball. These are probably the least important cards in our hand right now. To search for Dusclops and put it into play. Order Pad can get us a really important item card here. Even if it doesn't, it helps thin the hand for Bicycle to draw more cards. So let's just use Order Pad here. And we got Tails. Okay, so we don't get an item, but that's okay, we get to draw more. Let's also try to use Recycle here. So let's flip again. Okay, that one's heads. In this case, there's some pretty good cards here. In this case, I might get Duskstone again. In some lines, we're able to use Mismagius twice. So let's try to do that in this case. So I'm going to put Duskstone on top. And let's now use Bicycle. This allows us to draw that Duskstone. So let's draw 3 cards. So we drew Carmine. We really don't want to discard the Duskstone. We really want to put Misdreavus into play and get Mismagius back into the deck so we can use Duskstone before using Carmine. Our best bet is probably to start by using Trainer's Mail. So let's use it. Let's look at the top 4 cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the Nest Ball will help us do that. So let's get the Nest Ball. Let's use Super Rod to put 3 Pokemon back into the deck. Or actually, let's put an energy back. We don't need the unknown yet. The energy might be useful in case we need to use Beast Ring quickly. So let's put these 3 back. Let's use Nest Ball to put Misdreavus into play. Let's use Duskstone to evolve into Mismagius. Let's shuffle. Right now on board, we have Dusclops and Mismagius. So this 2 more prize cards our opponent should be able to take. So that should put them down to exactly 3. All we need to do now is get Miss Marshadow out of the active and put Blacephalon on with enough energy to attack. So let's start by using Carmine. We don't have a hand, so we're just going to draw 5 cards. We're looking for a lot of cards here, so I'm not going to use Reserved Ticket yet. Let's start by using Gutsy Pickaxe. We reveal the top card of the deck. Okay, it's Pokemon Communication, and we put that into hand. Let's also use Judge Whistle. It allows us to draw a card. Let's use Reserve Ticket, flip a coin. If heads, put a card from the deck on top. Let's reflip that. Tails, so we don't get to search for a particular card and put it on top. That's okay though. Let's use Ordinary Rod. Let's put back Unknown, Nihilego, and a Basic Energy. Let's use X Transceiver. We flipped heads. In this case, I actually don't want to have the supporter card in hand because we draw less using Mysterious Message, so I'm just going to fail it. And let's use Mysterious Message to draw until we have 7 cards in hand. And Mismagius gets knocked out. So our opponent is now at 4 prize cards. Let's put Unknown into play. Then let's use Quick Ball, discarding Pokemon Communication, to search for Blacephalon. There it is. I'm going to use Unknown's ability, Farewell Letter, to draw a card and discard Unknown. I'm going to use Buddy Buddy Rescue to get Unknown back into hand, play it, and then use its ability again to draw a card. I now use Beast Ring to search the deck for energy. I only found 1, that's okay. And attach it to one of my Ultra Beasts. So this is a very useful way to accelerate energy. We only found one though, so we still need to find a way to switch Marshadow out of the active. I'm hoping to find maybe Scoop of Net, maybe Switch. I'm going to use Trekking Shoes to search for those item cards I just talked about. So we don't need Hisuian Heavy Ball, so let's take the other one. To give us a better chance at finding one of those switch cards, I'm going to use Rotom Phone. This lets us look at the top 5 cards, put one into hand, or put one on top of the deck. So I'm going to put the switch on top of the deck because we can use that to move Marshadow out of the active spot. Then we shuffle the rest back into the deck. Should be smooth sailing from here though. So we put this on top. Then we're going to use Pok&eacute, discard the top 3 cards. Okay, we get Switch and Rescue Stretcher to hand. Mew goes to the discard pile. Let's use Switch. Let's attach an energy for turn. I'm going to use Dusclops' ability, Curse Blast, to put 5 damage counters. Then there's not too much else I would do in this situation. Maybe Max Revive? Maybe. There's no need to do it here. It depends on the board state. But we're going to use Fireworks Bomb here. Our opponent should be at 3 prizes right now, so it's going to put 12 damage counters on. We should be able to take a knockout or 2 here. From there, we didn't do any disruption this time, but hopefully we made it difficult for our opponent to set up their Pokemon. If we took multiple knockouts, that should do it there. Yeah, I hope these demonstrations help explain how the deck generally works. Overall, the deck still feels a bit inconsistent, but also feels unbeatable when it works. Dealing 220 cumulative damage, or in this case 170 cumulative damage on the first turn, is not healthy for GLC. So it makes sense that certain cards got banned. Dusclops got banned because it is the main reason that the deck works. Spirit-born evolution circumvents normal rules of evolution, so the ban fits thematically with previous bans like Forest of Giant Plants. Marshadow also got banned since its ability, Let Loose, could be used to disrupt your opponent on the first turn, making it difficult to set up. These bans go into effect on September 1st. I'm happy to see a quick response for problematic cards to maintain the health of the format, and I hope this video helps solidify that these cards are in fact problematic. As always, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for GLC and collecting content. I hope to improve the quality a little bit, at least maybe get a better camera, maybe a better mic. We'll see for the future. Until next time, peace.